The sirens wailed across the city. Prison riot. Inmates escaped. The hospital went dark. Staff ran for the exits. Doctors, nurses, security guards. All of them running. Except one. Sarah Chen stood alone in the East Wing. Just a nurse in faded blue scrubs. Quiet, unremarkable. Always overlooked, but hidden beneath her. Hospital ID was something else. A badge no one had ever seen. A past no one knew about. 12 patients couldn't run, couldn't hide, couldn't save themselves, and Sarah Chen wasn't going anywhere. The glass doors shattered. Heavy boots hit the floor. Angry voices echoed through the empty halls. What her colleagues didn't know was that Sarah had been waiting for this moment her entire life. The question was, who was she really? The fluorescent lights hummed in the East Wing of Mercy General Hospital. Sarah Chen wiped down the medication cart with practiced efficiency. Her scrubs were faded blue. Her ponytail was simple. Nothing about her suggested anything remarkable. The hospital was understaffed that Tuesday evening. 3 nurses had called in sick. 2 more had left early, citing family emergencies. Sarah didn't complain. She never complained. "Chen, you're covering rooms 12 through 18 tonight?" Charge Nurse Davidson barked from the station. Her tone was dismissive. "It always was." "Understood," Sarah replied quietly. Davidson rolled her eyes. "Try to keep up this time." Sarah nodded and continued her work. Her hands moved with precision. Each motion was economical, efficient. The other nurses chatted near the break room, but Sarah remained focused. Outside, the city was unraveling. News reports crackled from the television in the waiting area. A prison riot had erupted 3 miles away. Inmates had overwhelmed the guards. Some had escaped. The police scanner reported chaos in the streets. "We should lock the doors." A young nurse named Emma whispered nervously. "Relax," Dr. Harrington said with a dismissive wave. He was the senior physician on duty. Arrogant. Overconfident. "Those animals won't make it this far." Sarah said nothing. Her dark eyes scanned the windows. She noted the exit routes, the supply closets, the stairwell access points. Old habits. By 8 o'clock, the parking lot lights flickered, then went dark. The backup generators kicked in with a grinding whir. Emergency lighting bathed everything in sickly yellow. Emma clutched the desk. Davidson's face went pale. "What's happening?" someone asked. Then they heard it. Distant shouting. Glass breaking. The sound grew louder, closer. "Lock the wing." Dr. Harrington shouted, suddenly panicked. "Lock everything now." Staff scrambled. Doors slammed. Keys rattled. The entrance to the East Wing was secured, but everyone could hear the mob outside growing. Angry voices. Dozens of them. "We need to evacuate," Davidson said, her voice shaking. "The west exit," Dr. Harrington agreed. "Everyone move." Now they ran. All of them. Down the corridor, toward the rear stairwell. Their footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. White coats flapping. Shoes squeaking on linoleum. Sarah stood at the nurse's station. Alone, Chen. "Move!" Davidson screamed from the stairwell door. But Sarah didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the rooms around her. Room 12. Mrs. Patterson, 73, recovering from surgery. Room 14. James Rodriguez, paralyzed from a car accident. Room 16. 9 years old. Leukemia. None of them could move. None of them could run. Chen. Davidson's scream was desperate now. The stairwell door slammed shut. Sarah was alone in the East Wing with 12 patients who couldn't save themselves. The shouting outside grew louder, closer. Fists pounded on the main entrance. The glass doors rattled in their frames. If this story gripped you, subscribe now to see what happens next. Sarah isn't who they think she is. Sarah walked calmly to the medication room. She opened the bottom drawer. Behind the supply logs was something that didn't belong in any hospital. Her fingers closed around cold metal, The glass entrance. Shattered heavy boots hit the tile floor. Sarah stepped into the hallway. Her face was calm. Her breathing was steady, and she was holding something no nurse should know how to use. Asterisk, the first man through the shattered entrance wore an orange jumpsuit. His face was flushed, wild. Behind him, more inmates poured into the lobby. 6, then 8, then a dozen. They saw the empty nurse's station. The abandoned corridors. Easy prey, Sarah stood in the center of the hallway, small, alone, still wearing those faded blue scrubs. Oh, well, the first man sneered. He was massive. Tattoos covered his arms. A piece of broken glass glinted in his hand. Look what we got here, the others laughed. They spread out, blocking exits. Surrounding her, the hospital is evacuated, Sarah said calmly. There's nothing for you here. Her voice was steady, professional, as if she were explaining medication dosages. Oh, I think there's plenty here, another inmate said. He stepped closer. The smell of sweat and desperation rolled off him. Medicine, supplies, hostages. Sarah's expression didn't change. Leave now. This is your only warning. They laughed harder. Your only warning? The massive man took another step. Little nurse is giving us warnings? Sarah's hand moved to her pocket. The weight there was familiar, comforting, but she didn't draw it yet. Not yet. Last chance, she said quietly. The man lunged. What happened next took 3 seconds. Maybe less. Sarah sidestepped. Her movement was fluid, precise. She caught his wrist as he passed. Twisted, there was a crack. The glass clattered to the floor. The man screamed and dropped to his knees. Before the others could react, Sarah's leg swept out. Another inmate fell, hard. His head bounced off the tile. Get her. Someone shouted. 2 more rushed forward. Sarah moved like water. No wasted motion. No hesitation. She struck pressure points that dropped grown men instantly. She used their momentum against them. Within 10 seconds, 4 inmates were on the ground, groaning, unable to stand. The others froze. This small nurse had just dismantled for violent criminals with her bare hands. No weapons. No struggle. Just devastating efficiency. What the hell are you? Someone whispered. Sarah stood in the center of the hallway, not even breathing hard. Someone who's trying to help you make a better choice. The remaining inmates backed up. Uncertainty flickered across their faces. Then one of them saw something. His eyes widened. Holy, that's a federal badge. Sarah's jacket had shifted during the fight. Clipped to her belt, barely visible, was a badge. Not a hospital ID. Something else entirely. She's a cop, another inmate yelled. Panic rippled through them. They started to ward the exits, but more sounds came from outside. More shouting. These voices were different. More organized. More dangerous. That's not cops, someone said. That's the others. From cell block D, the violent offenders, murderers, the ones with nothing to lose. Heavy footsteps approached the broken entrance. A shadow fell across the lobby. A man stepped through. Taller than the others, scars crisscrossed his face. His eyes were cold. Dead. He took in the scene. The inmates on the ground. Sarah standing alone. He smiled. It wasn't human. Boise said to the men behind him. Looks like we got ourselves a hero. 20 more inmates filed in behind him. These ones carried weapons, pipes, broken glass. One had a knife. Sarah didn't move, didn't flinch. You made a mistake staying, little girl, the scarred man said. This wing is ours now. Sarah finally drew what she'd been carrying. Not a gun. Something else. Small, black. It clicked as she activated it. I'm going to give you one more chance, she said quietly. Walk away. The scarred man laughed. Or what? Or I stop holding back. His laughter died. Something in her voice. Something in her eyes. For just a moment, doubt flickered across his face. Then pride won. Take her, he ordered. The inmates charged. and Sarah Chen stopped being a nurse. Asterisk, the device in Sarah's hand wasn't a weapon. It was a transmitter. Military grade, encrypted. She pressed it once, somewhere in the darkness outside. Something responded, but the inmates didn't know that. They only saw a small woman standing alone. They rushed forward. Hungry for violence, Sarah moved. The first man swung a pipe. Sarah ducked under it. Her elbow struck his solar plexus. He collapsed, gasping. The second attacker lunged with broken glass. Sarah redirected his arm. Used his momentum, he crashed into the wall face first. She was faster than them, smarter. Every movement was calculated. She targeted joints, pressure points, locations that would disable but not kill. A knife slashed toward her face. Sarah caught the wrist, twisted, the blade clattered away. She swept the attacker's legs, and he went down hard. The scarred man watched from the back. His confidence was draining. What the hell is she? Another inmate tried to grab her from behind. Sarah dropped low, spun. Her legs swept out like a scythe. He crashed to the floor. 10 seconds. 7 attackers down. The others hesitated now. Fear replaced aggression. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was just a nurse. The scarred man screamed. Someone shoot her? One of the inmates raised a stolen security guard's pistol. His hands shook. Sarah was 15 feet away. An easy shot. She didn't dive for cover. Didn't run. Instead, she spoke. Her voice cut through the chaos. Clear, commanding, nothing like a nurse. If you fire that weapon, Sarah said, you'll have about 90 seconds before a tactical response team breaches every entrance. They won't arrest you. They won't negotiate. They'll put you down. The man with the gun hesitated. You're bluffing. The transmitter I activated, Sarah continued, her eyes locked on his, is connected to a federal emergency protocol. Armed response is already en route. Your only chance is to surrender now. She was lying. Partially, help was coming, but not that quickly. She needed time. The gun wavered. Think about it, Sarah said. Her voice was calm, reasonable. Came here looking for medicine. Supplies, not a war. Put the gun down. Walk away. You might still make it out. The scarred man stepped forward. She's playing you. There's no backup. She's alone. But doubt had taken root. The inmates looked at each other. At the bodies on the floor. At this small woman who had just destroyed their friends with her bare hands. Last chance, Sarah said quietly. The man with the gun lowered it. Slowly. His hands were still shaking. Smart choice, Sarah said. Then the scarred man lunged. He moved fast. Faster than the others. A sharpened piece of metal glinted in his hand. He aimed for her throat. Sarah was faster. She sidestepped. Caught his wrist. Twisted hard. There was a crack. The makeshift weapon fell. Before he could scream, Sarah's palm struck his chest. A specific point, precise. He gasped and collapsed. The others broke, ran, scrambling, over each other to escape through the shattered entrance. Within seconds, the lobby was empty except for the groaning injured and the scarred man clutching his chest. Sarah stood alone again. Not even breathing hard, she walked to the nurse's station. Picked up the phone. Dead, no outside line. She pulled a cell phone from her pocket. Not her personal phone. Something else. Military grade. Encrypted like the transmitter, she dialed a number from memory. It rang once. Chen, a voice answered. Male. Authoritative. We got your signal. What's your status? East Wing secured, Sarah said quietly. Approximately 15 hostiles neutralized. No patient casualties, but more are coming. Extraction team is 12 minutes out. Negative, Sarah said. I have 12 immobile patients. We can't evac in time. Silence on the other end. Then, you're asking to hold position? Affirmative. Chen, you're not equipped for? I'm equipped, Sarah interrupted. Her voice was steel. I just need authorization to access the emergency cache. Another pause. Longer this time? Cache 77 Delta. Confirmed. Authorization granted. But Chen, that cache contains... I know what it contains, Sarah said. I know exactly what it contains. She hung up. The emergency cache was hidden in the hospital for exactly this scenario. A catastrophic security breach. Most staff didn't know it existed. Even hospital administration didn't know, but Sarah knew. Because Sarah Chen wasn't really a nurse. Not just a nurse. She walked to the janitor's closet, pushed aside cleaning supplies, found the false panel in the back wall. Pressed for specific points in sequence, the panel clicked open. Inside was enough equipment to fight a small war. Sarah pulled the tactical vest from the cache. Body armor. Level 4. She strapped it on over her scrubs. The weight was familiar, comforting. Next came the weapons. A compact carbine, 2 sidearms, flashbangs, smoke grenades, medical supplies, advanced trauma kit, communication equipment. She loaded magazines with practiced efficiency. Checked the action on each weapon. Muscle memory. Years of training. Outside, the sounds were growing again. More voices. More footsteps. This time, they were organized. Coordinated. Sarah secured the closet. Locked the cache behind the false panel. Then she moved to room 12. Mrs. Patterson was awake. Eyes wide with fear. "Sweetheart," the elderly woman whispered. "What's happening?" Sarah's voice softened. Became gentle again. "Just some trouble outside, Mrs. Patterson, but you're safe. I promise." "Who are you?" the woman asked, staring at Sarah's tactical gear. Sarah smiled. Sad, tired, someone who takes promises very seriously. Daunt. She moved to each room. Checked every patient. Reassured them. The child in room 16 was crying. Sarah sat on the edge of the bed. Held her hand. "I'm scared," the little girl whispered. "I know," Sarah said softly. "But I'm going to keep you safe, no matter what. You promise?" "I promise." Sarah returned to the hallway. Took up position where she could see all approaches. The east wing had 3 entrances. Main lobby, already breached. Service entrance to the south. Stairwell to the north. She heard movement at the service entrance. Heavy. Methodical. They were testing the doors. Probing defenses. Smart. These weren't random rioters anymore. Someone was coordinating them. Sarah's radio crackled. The encrypted one. "Chen, we've identified your opposition. Former military inmates. They've organized. They know what they're doing." "Copy that," Sarah replied quietly. "Rules of engagement. Protect the patients. Minimum necessary force. Lethal authorized only as last resort." "Understood." The service door exploded inward. Flashbang. Smoke. Professional breach. 6 men poured through. They moved like soldiers, covering angles, using hand signals. Sarah had already moved. She wasn't where they expected. She was behind them. In the smoke, using it for cover, she dropped the first man with a precise strike to the nerve cluster in his neck. He crumpled silently. The second turned. Too slow. Sarah's sidearm came up. Not aimed at him. Aimed at his weapon. She shot the rifle out of his hands. He yelped and clutched his fingers. The others wheeled, searching for her in the smoke. "Federal agent," Sarah's voice rang out, commanding. "Drop your weapons!" Face down on the ground. For a moment, nobody moved. Then one of them laughed. "Federal agent. In a hospital? Wearing scrubs?" "Last warning," Sarah said. They opened fire. Muzzle flashes lit up the smoke. Bullets punched through walls. Sarah was already moving. Rolling. Taking cover behind the nurse's station. Rounds sparked off metal. Glass shattered. Sarah waited. Counted shots. Listened to the reload clicks. Then she moved. She came up firing. Not to kill. targeting weapons, hands, legs, disabling shots. One by one, the inmates went down, screaming, clutching wounds, but alive. The last man standing dropped his weapon, raised his hands. "Don't shoot. Don't shoot." "Face down," Sarah ordered. "Hands behind your head." He complied. Trembling, Sarah secured them quickly. Zip ties. Professional. Then she checked the patients again. All safe. All unharmed. But more sounds came from outside. Many more. They'd heard the gunfire. More were coming. Sarah's radio crackled again. "Chen, we're reading at least 40 hostiles converging on your position. You need to fall back." "Negative," Sarah said. "Patients can't be moved." "Chen, that's an order." "With respect, sir," Sarah interrupted. "I'm not leaving them." Silence. Then a different voice came on the radio. Older, harder. "Agent Chen, this is Director Morrison. Stand down." "That's a direct order." Sarah's jaw tightened. "No, sir." "Chen, you taught me never to leave civilians behind," Sarah said quietly. "You taught me. That's what separates us from them." "So no, sir. I'm not standing down." Another pause. When Morrison spoke again, his voice was softer, proud. "Then hold the line. Agent, we're coming for you." "Yes, sir." The line went dead. Sarah checked her ammunition, reloaded, positioned herself where she had the best fields of fire. The East Wing had become a fortress, and she was its only defender. Outside, the mob was gathering. She could see them through the windows. Dozens, maybe more. Some had weapons, real ones, stolen from the armory. They weren't playing anymore. A voice boomed from a megaphone. "Federal agent in the hospital? We know you're in there. Send out the patients and maybe we let you live." Sarah didn't respond. She just waited, calm, ready. "You've got 60 seconds." The voice shouted. Sarah closed her eyes, took a breath. Let training take over. Emotion faded. Fear faded. Only mission remained. Protect the patients. Hold the line. No matter the cost. 60 seconds passed. They came from all sides. Asterisk, the first wave hit the main entrance. 20 men, shouting, firing wildly. Sarah had fortified the position with equipment from the cache. She'd created choke points, kill zones. She deployed smoke grenades. The lobby filled with thick gray clouds. She moved through it like a ghost. Using thermal optics from the cache, she could see them. They couldn't see her. Her weapon coughed. Controlled bursts. Leg shots, shoulder shots. Men dropped, screaming, clutching wounds. But alive. She wasn't there to kill. Just to stop them. "Where is she?" Someone screamed. "I can't see anything." Sarah was already repositioning, moving, never staying in one place. They fired at shadows.
At sounds.
Hit each other in the confusion. The south entrance breached simultaneously. More inmates poured in. But Sarah had anticipated this. She'd positioned obstacles, overturned carts, furniture, creating a maze. Slowing them down, she activated another cache tool. High-frequency emitter, painful but non-lethal. The sound was unbearable for anyone without ear protection. The inmates clutched their heads, stumbled, disoriented. Sarah moved through them, disabling, securing, one by one. But they kept coming. More. Always more. For every 5 she stopped, 10 more entered. She fell back to the inner corridor, the last defensive line before the patient rooms. This was where she'd make her stand. Her ammunition was running low. She'd been precise, careful, but there were too many. She switched to the sidearm. Conserved rounds. A group of 6 burst through the smoke. They'd covered their ears. Adapted. They spotted her. Dare. Weapons came up. Sarah dove behind cover. Rounds chewed through drywall. Sparks flew. She returned fire. 2 went down. But the others kept advancing. 1 got close. Too close. He swung a pipe. Sarah blocked, countered. Her training took over hand-to-hand, brutal, efficient. He went down hard. But another grabbed her from behind. Strong arms. Crushing. Sarah dropped her weight. Twisted, broke his grip. Her elbow struck his jaw. He released her. She was tiring. Even she had limits. Her breath came harder now. Sweat stung her eyes. The tactical vest felt heavier, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The patients were behind her. That little girl, Mrs. Patterson, James Rodriguez. They were counting on her. 10 minutes, her radio crackled. Extraction team is 10 minutes out. Can you hold? Sarah looked at the advancing mob. 40, maybe 50. All armed. All angry. Yes, she said simply. 10 minutes might as well have been 10 hours. They came in waves now, organized, coordinated. Someone smart was directing them. They'd learned her tactics, started countering them. Sarah adapted, changed positions, used different angles. But the corridor was only so long. She was running out of room, out of options. A bullet grazed her shoulder. Pain flared, hot, sharp. She ignored it, kept fighting. Another round hit her vest. The impact drove air from her lungs. She gasped, but stayed upright. 5 minutes, the radio said. Sarah's magazine clicked empty. She dropped it, loaded her last one. 20 rounds. Maybe 50 hostiles. The math was bad. She'd have to get creative. Sarah pulled her last flashbang. Through it, the blast was deafening. Light flared. Everyone went blind for precious seconds. Sarah charged forward. Into them. Through them. Using confusion. Using chaos. She fought hand-to-hand now. Weapon strikes. Grappling. Years of training compressed into seconds. Men fell around her. But more pressed in. Fists connected. A boot caught her ribs. She tasted blood, but she didn't fall. Wouldn't fall. Not while those patients needed her. 2 minutes. Sarah was bleeding now, exhausted. Her movements were slower. Reactions duller. But still, she fought. Still, she held the line. Then something changed. The inmates heard it too. A new sound. Growing louder. Helicopters. Not police birds. Military. Heavy transport. The roar of rotor blades shook the building. Spotlights blazed through windows. A voice boomed from external speakers. Overwhelming. Authoritative. This is the Federal Response Team. The facility is surrounded. Drop your weapons. Face down on the ground. You have 30 seconds to comply. The inmates looked at each other, at the lights, at the shadows of armed figures repelling from the helicopters. At Sarah, bloodied but still standing. They broke. Dropped weapons. Raised hands. Fell to their knees. The fight drained out of them. Sarah swayed, caught herself against the wall, her vision blurred. The adrenaline was fading. Pain rushed in to replace it. Boots thundered in the stairwell. Heavy, fast. The extraction team. They burst into the corridor. 20 operators in full tactical gear. Weapons up. Professional, efficient. The team leader spotted Sarah. His eyes widened behind his visor. Agent Chen. Sarah nodded. Couldn't speak. Too tired. Secure the hostiles. The team leader ordered. Medic. We need a medic here. Sarah pushed off the wall. Patients first, she managed. Her voice was hoarse. Check the patients first. The team leader nodded. Respected that. Copy. Patients first. Medical personnel rushed past, into the rooms. Checking vitals. Reassuring. Evacuating. Mrs. Patterson. James Rodriguez. The little girl, all safe. All alive, Sarah allowed herself to slide down the wall, to sit. Finally, the corridor was chaos. Inmates being secured, patients being evacuated. But the crisis was over. A shadow fell over her. Sarah looked up, expected the team leader. Instead, she saw expensive shoes, tailored pants. She raised her eyes further. A man stood there. 3 stars on his shoulder, silver hair, weathered face. Behind him stood others. Uniforms, suits, FBI badges. Military insignia. The hospital staff had returned. Davidson, Dr. Harrington, Emma, Day. Crowded at the corridor entrance, staring, confused, shocked. The 3-star general looked down at Sarah. At this small woman in bloodied scrubs and tactical gear. At the carnage around her, the secured inmates, the protected patients. Then he did something that made everyone gasp. He saluted. The corridor went silent. Everyone stared. A 3-star general, saluting a nurse. Sarah tried to stand, to return the salute properly, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. The general stepped forward, helped her up. His grip was firm, respectful. "At ease, Colonel," he said quietly. The word echoed. Colonel Dr. Harrington's mouth fell open. "What?" Davidson's face went white. "That's impossible. She's a nurse." "She's just Colonel Sarah Chen," the general continued, his voice carrying now. Addressing the crowd, United States Army Special Operations. Medal of Honor recipient. Former commander of Delta Force's Medical Operations Unit. Emma gasped. Other staff members whispered, shocked, disbelieving. Sarah's face flushed. She'd wanted this to stay quiet, to stay hidden. "General Morrison, sir, this isn't necessary." "It is necessary," Morrison interrupted gently. "These people need to understand what you did here, what you've been doing." He turned to face the hospital staff, to face Dr. Harrington, who'd dismissed her, to face Davidson, who'd treated her like she was incompetent. "Colonel Chen retired from active duty 3 years ago," Morrison explained. "She holds the highest combat medical certification in the military. She's saved over 200 lives under fire. She's led rescue operations in 6 combat zones." He paused. Let that sink in. "When she retired, she didn't stop serving," Morrison continued. "She took a position here, working as a civilian nurse, living a quiet life. But she remained on our emergency response roster, in case something like this happened, in case someone needed her particular skills." Sarah looked at the floor, embarrassed. This attention, this recognition, she'd never wanted it. "Tonight," Morrison said, his voice thick with emotion, "Colonel Chen held this wing against 50 armed hostiles. She protected 12 immobile patients. She didn't abandon them when everyone else fled. She stayed. She fought. And because of her, every single patient survived." Davidson was crying now, quiet tears streaming down her face. Emma covered her mouth with her hand. Dr. Harrington stepped forward. His arrogance was gone, replaced by shame. "I called you. I said you couldn't keep up. I treated you like you were, like I was just a nurse," Sarah said softly. No anger in her voice, just truth. He nodded. Couldn't meet her eyes. "Being just a nurse is the hardest job in this hospital," Sarah said. "It's the most important. I never minded being treated like one, because I am one." "That's not an insult to me." Morrison nodded approvingly. Colonel Chen could have requested any position, any assignment. But she chose this. Frontline patient care, because that's who she is. An FBI director stepped forward. Another suit. More badges. The federal cash she accessed. "We've had those positioned in 6 hospitals, just in case. In 30 years, Colonel Chen is the first person to ever need one. The first person to ever hold a position like this successfully." The little girl from room 16 appeared, being carried by a medic. She saw Sarah, reached out. "You promised. You promised you'd keep me safe." Sarah moved forward, ignored her injuries, her exhaustion. She took the little girl's hand. And I did. You're safe now. The girl smiled. Then she was carried away. Toward the evacuation point. Toward safety, Mrs. Patterson was wheeled past on a gurney. She grabbed Sarah's hand as she passed. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you for staying. Sarah squeezed back. You're welcome. James Rodriguez gave her a salute from his stretcher. Sarah returned it. Small, subtle, but he saw it, understood it. One by one, the patients were evacuated. All 12, all alive, all safe. The medical team wanted to treat Sarah's injuries. But first, she walked the corridor, checking, making sure that every patient was gone, that everyone was safe. Only then did she allow herself to be led to the ambulance. Davidson caught up to her, tears still flowing. Colonel Sarah, I don't know what to say. I was so horrible to you, so dismissive. Sarah touched her shoulder. Gentle. You didn't know. You weren't supposed to know. I never held it against you. But I should have seen what? Sarah interrupted. That I could do the job? You did see that. You saw a good nurse? That's all you needed to see. Dr. Harrington approached. His shame was palpable. I have no excuse. I was arrogant, blind. You saved lives tonight while I ran, while I abandoned my patients. Sarah looked at him. No judgment in her eyes, just understanding. You're not trained for combat. You did what any civilian should do. You evacuated. There's no shame in that, but you stayed. I stayed because I had training you don't have, because I took an oath you didn't take, because I had skills you don't possess. She paused. You're a brilliant surgeon, Dr. Harrington. You save lives every day. We're not in competition. We're on the same team. He nodded. Still processing? Still ashamed, but grateful. Morrison approached Sarah as she sat in the ambulance. Your resignation from the reserve roster. I'm rejecting it. Sarah looked up, surprised, sir. We need people like you, Colonel. People who stay when others run. People who keep their promises. He smiled, tired, proud. Something tells me you'd ignore the resignation anyway if someone needed you. Sarah smiled. Small, real. You might be right about that, sir. The ambulance doors closed. Sarah leaned back. Let exhaustion claim her. Let the adrenaline finally fade. She'd done her job. Kept her promise. Protected those who couldn't protect themselves. Through the window, she saw the hospital staff gathering. Watching her, Davidson, Dr. Harrington, Emma, all of them. They weren't seeing a nurse anymore. But they weren't seeing a colonel either. They were seeing what she'd always been, what she'd always be. Someone who stayed when others fled. Someone who fought without a weapon when she had to. Someone who kept promises no matter the cost. The ambulance pulled away. The lights of Mercy General Hospital faded behind her. But Sarah knew she'd be back. Once she healed. Once she recovered, because there were patients who needed care. There were people who needed help. And Sarah Chen had never been able to walk away from that. Not when she wore a uniform. Not when she wore scrubs. Not ever. Some people were built to protect, to serve, to stay. Sarah was one of them. Colonel or nurse. The job was always the same. The mission never changed. Keep people safe. Keep promises. No matter what. The hospital lights disappeared completely. But somewhere in the darkness, Sarah Chen smiled. Already thinking about her next shift. Already ready to serve again. In whatever way was needed, by whoever needed her. Because that's what heroes do. They show up. They stay. They protect. Even when no one knows who they really are.